everyone, welcome back to Cardvoyant. I'm Chris and I'm your Cardvoyant. And today we're going to talk a little bit about tarot. In fact, we're going to talk about the 5 things I wish I knew before I started reading tarot. So before we get into that, I just want to say thank you for following me, for waiting for videos sometimes, and for commenting, for having readings, for just being a part of this community. If you're not yet a part, please subscribe. We would love to have you, and hopefully there'll be some things that you enjoy and some things that you learn along the way. As always, if you would like a reading from me, you can do that on my website, cardvoyant.com. So, the 5 things I wish I knew before I started reading tarot. Now, I will say that I've always been interested in spiritual things, and especially in sort of connecting, like mediumship and psychic things, all those kind of interesting things. And so I knew about tarot. I knew it existed. I didn't know much about it. So when I started learning, I was coming from nothing. I really knew nothing about tarot. So the 5 things I wish I knew. Number 5, how to pick out your first deck or a tarot deck in general. The way that I actually got my first deck and started reading was when for Christmas, maybe 15 years ago, one of my sons gave me a Barnes & Noble gift card. And did you know, Barnes & Noble has a bunch of tarot decks. They carry tarot decks. So I stumbled upon them as I was wandering through the store. And there were so many. And I didn't know if there was a best deck, if there was a right deck. I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't know if they were all the same. I didn't know anything about it. So I left that day without a deck, went home, and of course got on the internet and started Googling, like, how do I pick a tarot deck? What do I need? What decks are there? Anything I could find. The advice that I got mostly, or that I found mostly, was to pick a deck that resonates with you. Well, then I went back and I was like trying to connect with a deck, what is speaking to me. And it was still hard. And I left again without a deck. And so I did some more research, and I found that, Rider-Waite, this kind of standard Rider-Waite deck, is the most ubiquitous deck. And it's really the deck, and the imagery and all that kind of stuff is what so many other tarot decks are based on. So you'll see the similar imagery. But even then, there are a bunch of different Rider-Waite decks. There's like the illuminated Rider-Waite deck. There's the universal. There's all these different Rider-Waite decks. So, and then I also didn't know, should I get one in a big package? It's like comes with this beautiful book and all these other things. I had no idea. Finally went back. I just picked the one that seemed universal, and it was called the Universal Rider-Waite deck. Here's what you need to know. If you're just learning, the Rider-Waite deck in any form is probably a really good first deck for you. You'll learn these very basic images on which most other decks are based, and it'll just give you a really good foundation. You absolutely don't have to, but it is a really good place to start, especially if you are like me and are just like overwhelmed at the choices. There are so many decks out there. I still, with new clients, almost always use my Rider-Waite deck, and with most of the readings I do. But I do have others that I use quite regularly. I have a lot of decks that I rarely use for readings, but I just kind of love them. And it's fun kind of to start collecting them just for the beauty of the artwork, the way that they're different, the new sort of ideas and images they give you. It's fun. But to start out, I wish I knew, just go get yourself a Rider-Waite deck. And it can be just the deck. We'll talk about that. Number 4, what I wish I knew before I started reading tarot. It is the basics of the basics. I bought a book, I had my cards, but I had so many questions that weren't answered because they were so basic. Do I shuffle the cards? I've seen people, do like this with the cards. I could never do that. I still can't do that. Should I do that? Do I spread the cards out and then bring them back in? If I'm holding the cards and I shuffle them and then I'm ready to lay them out, do I lay them down face up or face down? Which card do I lay first? Do I do it from the top of the deck? Do I sort of bring them out from the bottom of the deck? I had no idea where to start with the very, very basics. And I couldn't find anybody to tell me what to do. I will tell you, and I could go into this much further, but just briefly, it's up to you. You do want to shuffle them in one way or another. You want to get them mixed up with every time that you do a reading. Whether or not you show the cards face up or face down when you first lay them out, up to you. Whether you take them from the bottom of the deck or the top of the deck, up to you. When you're starting out, you can kind of experiment with what feels good to you. And I promise you, your guides will get to know how you work so that things become, it's like every reading becomes better because you're becoming more set in your ways, which in this case is a good thing. Number 3, spreads. What the heck with spreads? I had a book, my beginning book, and in the back, after it explains all the cards, and that's overwhelming enough, right? But at the back, there's like dozens of different spreads. I didn't know what to use. There wasn't a lot of information about like how I should choose. And so the most basic of basics, or something that's very standard, is the Celtic cross. I tried that with several readings. There are so many cards in a Celtic cross, and they each should correspond to a different thing, past or present, the feeling of the moment, blah, blah, blah. I didn't even know exactly how to lay out the Celtic cross. I could see what it looked like, but what card did I lay down first? Which card was on some of the Celtic cross? They are on top of each other. I didn't know what card to, like, do I do that first or do I do that the last? I mean, it was confusing. And then to try and read them took so long because there's so many cards. And of course, when you're starting out, flipping back and forth in my book, it was very frustrating, and it didn't need to be. Spreads, if you want to use them, very traditional spreads, very common spreads, of course, that's fine, but you don't have to. Again, a suggestion, start in your mind thinking how many cards you're going to put down. 2, 3, 1, 4. Imagine in your head what that's going to look like. Are you going to have like 1 card and then 2 cards on the bottom? Are you just going to do a row, which is a really good place and a way to start? Or what does it look like to you that feels like, oh, I like this, or this is cool, or it feels comfortable? Just do that. There aren't rules about this. Everything that I've talked about thus far is like in my head, there must have been rules. The things that I should be doing to be doing this right. And really, there isn't a lot of truth to that. So, number 2. The number 2 thing I wish I'd known when I started reading tarot. What the heck am I doing? Who am I talking to? I didn't have a good grasp on like what was happening during a tarot reading. Were the cards magical themselves? Was I talking to the universe? Was I talking to my guides, my clients' guides? Was I somehow reading their mind? Was I connecting with that person and getting the information that way? I had no idea. And although it worked, they worked no matter what. I didn't, I really wanted to know what was going on. I like to know the mechanics of things. I like to know what's going on. And I really didn't feel like I had a good handle on that. And it took me a while. And I did try like, and meditate on it. And at the time, I wasn't a big meditator. So it was kind of that was weird enough for me to do. But I tried to do that. And it took me quite a while to feel like I knew what was going on. And I say this often at the beginning of readings, especially for new clients. What I feel like I'm doing is connecting with my guides, my guides and spirits. So I feel like we have a main guide that I call our counselor guide. I feel like we have other guides in our lifetime that help us. And then I feel like we have spirits, souls, friends, maybe people we've been with in this lifetime who have passed on, but I feel like they help and guide us as well. So I feel like I'm connecting with all of them. And then I feel like, and I try to, and I ask for the help of my clients' guides. And I ask them to sort of work in tandem, all this in my head, as I'm meditating or as I'm shuffling cards, I'm asking these things and I ask them and I thank them and I invite them in and I invite them to work, to speak to me and through me is how I always put it. And that's why I feel like we get such good information is because, my guides help me interpret. They help me to find the right words. They help me to understand. I feel like they probably share information with my clients' guides, kind of like the things that would resonate with me. I feel like my clients' guides know my client. They know already the questions they're asking, although I ask them again. They know what's in their heart. They've been with them. They've walked with them throughout this entire lifetime, before this lifetime, and they will after this lifetime. So they want help. They're available to help. They're always willing to work with me, and I always make sure to thank them, and I mean it so sincerely. And I always thank them for their greater perspective, their greater knowledge, their greater understanding, their greater wisdom, their greater love. And that's really what I feel makes a tarot reading what it is, and how beautiful and how helpful it can be. But the number one thing I wish I knew before I started reading tarot, you don't have to memorize the cards. There in the standard Rider-Waite deck, there are 78 cards, each with a bunch of symbolism, each with a name or a number and an association with a suit of tarot, and it is overwhelming. And I tried at the beginning, that when I first got my book, when I first got my deck, to start to memorize them, and it was just I'm never going to be able to do this. I just thought I'm never going to be able to do this. This is dumb. Why am I even trying? And then I couldn't not try. So I just got my deck and grabbed some family members. I didn't really try reading for myself too much at the beginning. I wanted to read for other people, and I would pull a card for myself, but even to this day, it's very hard to read for myself because you read into it the things that you want to hear. But I did. I got different family members and ask a question. Let me see what they say. Let me see what the cards say. And then I laid down, and usually, as I said, I started doing like Celtic Cross and all the things in the book that I thought I should. And I would literally take my book and flip to each card and read it, and often read it out loud, and then try to figure out like a summation, like what does it mean? And especially because I had this card and this card and this card, like what do they mean together? It took a long time, and my family members that had readings from me were extremely patient, but it worked. And that's the amazing thing about tarot. Your guides want to help you. They want to be in communication with you. And even in these very struggling moments that I had, and even as clumsily as I was trying to do things, some amazing messages came through. The thing about the cards is They're not the magic. They're a tool, right? Like fixing a car. The tools are what help you to make it work. And tarot, the cards are what help you to communicate, to make this communication work. The cards themselves aren't magic. The magic is in you. The magic. I mean, this is real stuff. This isn't magic. This is communication. It's communication with your guides. It's communications with your client's guide. It's a communication with the universe in many ways, because I feel that. You feel it coming in. And if you can sort of let go of the worry of everything that you should do or doing it right, or even not quite knowing what the cards mean, beautiful things can come through, even at the very beginning, even at your very first reading, whether it's for yourself or someone else. Trust yourself. Listen to yourself, feel those feelings, and you can read from the very beginning. I have a lot of other things I can say about learning tarot. So if you stay tuned, I will have more to come. I have another idea for something coming up along the same lines that is starting to read, some information about that. So I will do that. I have some Jacob's Journal stuff that has come through in the last little while, and I find it really interesting, and I hope you will too. I'll be presenting that shortly. I'll be doing that as well, and some other videos, more energy videos, but please let me know what you want. If you have questions about certain cards, any kind of problem you're having in reading, anything that I didn't cover in this video, just email me or put it in the comments, and I'll try and address those questions as well. So there you have it for today. I hope this is helpful. I hope that knowing all the mistakes I made at the beginning will help you not make the same mistakes and maybe get you off to a little faster start in your own ability to read tarot. It's it's a fantastic tool, and it brings you so much closer to your guides, who you'll get to know so much better, and just the energy of the universe, the positive energy of going forward in your life. So again, if you'd like a reading, cardvoyant.com. And until next time, please take care of yourself. Please take care of others. And bye for now.